Coco didn't steal anything. She didn't hurt anyone. She just watched. 1 second of curiosity, and they were ready to erase everything. Her memories, her identity, her entire existence, gone forever. Not because she was evil, not because she was dangerous, because she asked why with her eyes. And here's what's going to hit you harder than anything in this anime. This didn't just happen to Coco. Think about the last time you were genuinely curious about something. Maybe you asked a question you weren't supposed to ask. Maybe you pushed into territory someone told you to leave alone. Maybe you just wanted to understand something, really understand it, and someone looked at you and said, "That's not for you." That feeling of being shut down, psychologists have a name for it: curiosity suppression. And research shows that the children who got punished for asking why grew into adults who still hesitate before thinking out loud, and most of them have never connected the two. Coco's world calls it the Knights Moralis. Your world called it something else. Same system, same punishment, different century. Today we're going inside the psychology of Witch Hat Atelier, and by the end of this video, you're going to see Coco's story completely differently, because it was never just about magic. It was about what happens when a broken system meets someone who refuses to stop asking why. Let's get into it. Before we go deep, let's make sure we're all on the same page about who Coco actually is, because a lot of people come into Witch Hat Atelier thinking she's just the standard chosen one protagonist, the special girl who was always destined for greatness. That's completely wrong. Coco is not special, not at first, not by the rules of her world. In the world of Witch Hat Atelier, magic is not something you learn. It's something you're born with. You either come from a magical bloodline, or you don't. And if you don't, that's it. The door is closed forever. No exceptions, no second chances. Coco was on the wrong side of that door. She was a normal girl, a cloth merchant's daughter, someone the magical world had already decided didn't belong. But here's where it gets interesting. Coco had one thing that no rule, no bloodline, no magical system could control. She was relentlessly, dangerously, unstoppably curious. She didn't just see the world, she needed to understand it. She didn't just observe magic from a distance, she needed to know how it worked, why it worked, what it meant. And that curiosity, that single, pure, innocent drive, is exactly what made her a threat. Not to villains, not to monsters, to the system itself. And we're about to find out why that made her the most dangerous person in the entire world. There's one specific scene in Witch Hat Atelier that changes everything. Coco is in Qifrey's shop. She sees something she was never supposed to see. Magic being cast in front of her eyes. Real magic. Raw magic. And what does she do? She watches. That's it. She doesn't run. She doesn't scream. She doesn't try to steal anything. She just watches. With those wide golden eyes full of wonder and hunger and pure, unfiltered curiosity. And in that one moment, she breaks the most important rule in her entire world. Not the rule about performing magic, not the rule about forbidden spells, the rule about knowing. Because in this world, the greatest crime isn't what you do, it's what you know. The Knights Moralis, the magical world's enforcement system, have one job, one single purpose: protect the secret of magic from people who weren't born into it. And their solution is brutal in its simplicity. If you see what you shouldn't see, they erase it. Not the memory, not the moment, all of it. They reach into your mind and wipe away everything that makes you you. Think about that for a second. Not punishment, not prison, not even death, erasure. They don't want to hurt you. They just want you to stop existing as the version of yourself that asked the wrong question. And they were ready to do that to Coco, a child, because she watched, because she was curious. If that doesn't make you feel something, check your pulse. Now here's where it gets real. Because what happens to Coco in Witch Hat Atelier isn't fantasy. It's a mirror. Let's talk about what psychology actually says about curiosity and what happens when systems punish it. Curiosity is not a personality trait. It's not something some people have and some people don't. It's a biological drive. Neuroscience shows that curiosity activates the brain's dopaminergic reward system, the same circuit linked to pleasure, motivation, and survival. Your brain is literally wired to want to know things. You were born curious, every single one of you. So, what happened? Research from psychology today reveals something that should make every one of us stop and think. Children who grow up in environments where curiosity is treated as a problem, where asking why gets you punished, dismissed, or shut down, those children grow into adults who still hesitate before thinking out loud. They second-guess their questions. They apologize before asking. They read the room before opening their mouth. And here's the part that hits hardest. Most of them have never connected their adult hesitation to the moment their childhood curiosity was punished. They just think they're not that type of person. But they were. They always were. And someone, a parent, a teacher, a system, an institution, decided that their curiosity was a problem to be managed rather than a gift to be cultivated. Sound familiar? The Knights Morales didn't invent this. They just made it visible. Because in the real world, curiosity suppression looks different. It looks like a teacher saying, "That's not relevant to the exam." It looks like a parent saying, "Don't ask so many questions." It looks like a boss saying, "That's just how we do things here." Different words, same message. Your curiosity is dangerous. Stop. Research confirms that children's natural questioning declines sharply around age 5 or 6, right when they enter formal education. Not because they become less curious, but because the environment starts signaling that questions aren't welcome anymore. The system rewards certainty, not curiosity. It rewards the right answer, not the right question. Coco refused to accept that signal, and they tried to erase her for it. Now let's talk about Qifrey, because this is where Witch Hat Atelier gets genuinely uncomfortable. On the surface, Qifrey is the perfect mentor. Calm, intelligent, patient. He saves Coco. He gives her a path forward. He becomes her teacher, her protector, her guide. But psychology tells us something important about mentor figures who appear at exactly the right moment with exactly the right solution. They're worth examining very carefully. Qifrey didn't just save Coco, he recruited her. Think about what he actually did. He witnessed her curiosity firsthand. He saw what she was capable of. He understood that someone who could teach themselves magic from pure observation, without bloodline, without training, without permission, was not just rare. She was unprecedented. And Qifrey, with all his secrets, all his hidden agenda, all his carefully constructed mystery, chose that moment to become her mentor. Was it kindness? Probably, in part. But was it also calculated? Almost certainly. This is a psychological pattern called strategic mentorship, where someone with power and a hidden agenda identifies a person with unique potential and positions themselves as the key to unlocking it. It doesn't mean Qifrey is evil. It means he's complicated. And complicated is far more dangerous than evil, because Coco trusts him completely. And trust, when it's given to someone with secrets, is the most vulnerable thing in the world. Psychologists who study influence and mentorship note that the most effective way to shape someone's development is not through force. It's through becoming indispensable, through being the person who believed in them when no one else did. Sound like anyone you know? Qifrey believed in Coco when the entire world said she didn't belong. And in doing so, he gained more influence over her than any Knights Morales ever could. The system punished her curiosity with erasure. Qifrey rewarded it with access. And access, in the right hands, is the most powerful form of control there is. Here's the part of Witch Hat Atelier that most people miss. The Brimmed Hats, the main antagonists of the series, are not simply evil. They're not mindless destroyers. They're not chaos for chaos's sake. They're the people who also asked why and got punished for it. Think about that. The Brimmed Hats use forbidden magic. They break the rules of the magical world. They destabilize everything the Knights Morales are trying to protect. But why? Because the system failed them first. The magical world's rules don't just restrict what magic can be used. They restrict who deserves access to healing, who deserves access to knowledge, who gets to be saved when the approved methods aren't enough. The Brimmed Hats aren't rebelling against magic. They're rebelling against a system that decided some people's suffering doesn't matter enough to break a rule for. This is moral grayness at its most sophisticated. And psychology has a framework for exactly this, called Reactance Theory. When people feel their freedom is being unjustly restricted, especially when that restriction causes them or someone they love real harm, they don't just comply. They push back, hard. And the harder the system pushes, the harder the pushback becomes. The Brimmed Hats are reactants in human form. They're what happens when curiosity doesn't find a Qifrey. When the person asking why doesn't get a mentor, they get a wall, and then another wall, and then enough walls that they stop trying to go through them and start trying to tear them down. Coco could have become a Brimmed Hat if she hadn't found Qifrey, if she hadn't been given an alternative, if her curiosity had been met with nothing but rejection, she might have ended up on the same path. That's not a comfortable thought, but it's an important one, because it means the line between hero and villain in Witch Hat Atelier isn't drawn by character. It's drawn by circumstance. And circumstances, as we all know, are rarely fair. Let's come back to Coco, because everything we've just talked about, the system, the punishment, the moral grayness, it all circles back to her. And here's what makes Coco genuinely extraordinary. It's not that she's talented. It's not that she's special by birth. It's not even that she learned magic from pure observation, though that is remarkable. It's that she kept going. After her mother was frozen, after she discovered the consequences of her curiosity, after she entered a world that had rules designed to exclude her, systems designed to erase her, and a mentor whose agenda she couldn't fully see. She kept going. Psychology calls this post-traumatic growth. It's the phenomenon where people don't just survive trauma, they use it as fuel. They emerge from it with a clarity and a drive that people who haven't faced that same wall simply don't have. Coco's curiosity was punished, but it wasn't erased. And that distinction, that gap between punishment and erasure, is where her real power lives. Because they could shut her down, they could threaten her, they could tell her she didn't belong, but they couldn't make her stop wanting to understand. And wanting to understand, genuinely, deeply, relentlessly wanting to understand, is the most unstoppable force in any world, fictional or real. Researchers at the University of California found that curiosity-driven learners don't just absorb more information, they retain it longer, connect it more creatively, and apply it in situations that rule-following learners simply can't navigate. Coco isn't winning because she's the chosen one. She's winning because she never stopped asking why. And in a world designed to punish that question, survival is its own form of victory. And now we come to the part of this video that the title promised. Because everything we've talked about, the punishment, the erasure, the systems that reward compliance over curiosity, this isn't just Coco's story. It's yours. Think about the questions you stopped asking, not because you found the answers, but because someone or something made you feel like the question itself was the problem. Think about the doors you stopped trying to open, not because they were locked, but because enough people told you they weren't for you that eventually you started to believe them. Think about the version of yourself that existed before the world started teaching you which questions were acceptable. That version of you was Coco, before the story began. The curiosity didn't die. Research is very clear on this. The drive to understand doesn't disappear. It gets suppressed, it goes underground, it turns into anxiety or restlessness or a vague sense that you're not living the version of your life that you were supposed to. But it doesn't die. And here's what Witch Hat Atelier is really telling you. Underneath all the magic and the mystery and the gorgeous animation, it's not too late to start asking. Coco didn't reclaim her curiosity by becoming stronger, or smarter, or more powerful. She reclaimed it by deciding that the cost of not knowing was higher than the cost of asking. That's the whole story, in one sentence. The cost of not knowing is higher than the cost of asking. Whatever question you've been sitting on, whatever door you've been standing outside of, telling yourself it's not for you, Coco's story is asking you to reconsider. Because the Knights Morales aren't just in a fantasy world. They're in every system that was ever designed to keep certain people from knowing certain things. And the only answer that has ever worked, is to keep asking anyway. Witch Hat Atelier is not just a beautiful anime. It's a story about what it costs to be curious in a world that rewards compliance. It's a story about a girl who was told, in the clearest possible terms, that her desire to understand was a crime, and who decided anyway to understand. Coco didn't get a bloodline. She didn't get a prophecy. She didn't get chosen. She just refused to stop asking why. And if you've made it this far in this video, I think you know exactly what that feels like. Because you're here, watching a video about the psychology of an anime, at whatever hour it is where you are, still curious, still asking. That's not nothing. That's everything. If this video made you think, drop it in the comments. What question did someone punish you for asking? I want to know. And if you want to go deeper into the psychology behind the anime you love, you know where to find me. Stay curious.